retargeting ads have to have the highest return on ad spend, as we are showing our ads to people who are familiar with your brand. If this is not the case and your ROAS, your return on ad spend, is not profitable, then there are some things that are missing. But don't worry, I'm gonna show you exactly what you should work on, focus on, so you could get the maximum results from it. Now, I'm not gonna talk about what kind of audience you should target and structuring, because I have a whole dedicated video for that, so make sure to check that video first right here, because here we'll talk about what motivates a customer to buy, what drives them, and what are the objections and what are the reasons behind why they are not purchasing and why they are purchasing on the other hand. So here you'll find out those aspects that will persuade that customer to eventually start buying from you. So I want to introduce you with this motivational letter. Now, this is something that we have to understand, because this is going to increase our sales for our retargeting campaigns. So when someone have interest with your brand, they've added to cart, but they still haven't purchased something from you, then their actions are telling you that they are not convinced enough to take action and buy something from you. So what we have to work on is actually to show them some kind of components and aspects within our ads that will motivate them to pull the trigger and start buying from you. So the first component from our motivational letter is high frequency. So you have to understand that on average, a person needs 7 to 9 touch points until they feel confident to buy from a brand they never heard about. If you're selling something expensive, for example, home decor furniture or luxury clothing that costs $1,000 above, then your frequency should be higher than 10x. So people really need to see your brand like tens and sometimes hundreds of times until they buy. So what I would recommend is actually spending enough to your retargeting campaigns that is going to give you a much higher frequency. I often notice that retargeting campaigns in the beginning, they are not performing so well, but then eventually when the frequency is much higher, like 5x, 6x, then it starts picking up and we see much higher return on spend, much more sales. Now, I'm not saying that you have to put all your budget into your retargeting campaigns. Make sure you are still spending enough money to your prospecting, but take a look at your frequency at your retargeting campaigns. So every single day you should aim to have 1.5x and above. If you are less than 1.5x for your frequency, in that case you are not spending enough for your retargeting. If we go further through our motivational letter, the next thing is handling trust objections. Probably you've already heard about this social proof, the power of social proof, because at the end of the day, at this moment, people are more skeptical than ever. They are more conservative than ever because maybe they've been burned in the past with other brands, so it is much harder to convert them. That's why you gotta have all the components that is going to handle their trust objections. When it comes to handling trust objections, make sure you stack the social proof on your ads. So I'm talking about likes, shares, and comments. I usually notice how the high number of likes and shares and comments affect positively the conversion rate. So if it's working, then we definitely have to keep that in mind. Most of the customer objections are either product quality or product benefit. So what I would recommend is using heavily reviews from your customers. So it's a must having reviews on your website, but for your retargeting ads, you can use reviews on your ad copy or on your ad creatives itself. And you can test here with the reviews. You can have multiple reviews, you can have one single review, you can have multiple reviews on your ads, and you can have only one review on your ad. So you can test different combinations with your reviews. Reviews are extremely powerful because it handles the customer's objections, and this is much powerful than you saying how great your products are. You see, as a business owner, you don't really know what is stopping a customer to buy something from you. There are multiple reasons behind not purchasing. They might have been burned in the past. Maybe they purchased something and the product broke, or they just didn't have a good customer experience. That's why when you're running ads with reviews, make sure that you have different variations of your reviews, as having multiple variations will resonate with a much broader audience. Some reviews will handle some specific objections from 1% of the audience, and other review variations will completely handle some other objections from your audience. So this is literally a must. With more reviews, your conversion rate will simply skyrocket, and your retargeting campaigns, the performance of your retargeting campaigns overall will simply grow. Now, the first step of our motivational letter is the fear of missing out effect. So where we can call it also urgency or scarcity. Now, one thing that I would emphasize here is that do not overdo it, because your audience will be aware of this and they will know when they see these ads where you're telling like, our product is going to sold out in the next 24 hours. And you've been running that ad for like 1 month, 2 months, of course, in front of your customers, that is going to be kind of lie. So you don't really want to build your business around that type of lie. You use a fear of missing out when actually this is true. And by using that, you're gonna literally see some days with like very huge spikes in terms of sales. And the last but not the least thing from our motivational ledger is incentive, where we can also say offer. Of course, a lot of people, they are price sensitive. So good offer to a specific audience will be that last touch point that will persuade them to buy something from you. Again, with offer, I would recommend using specifically for just a few periods of times. Do not train your audience to get offers all the time, because they'll always and always wait for offers and they will never purchase your product for the full price. So make sure that you find that the balance and you use offers only when it makes sense. For example, for some kind of events or for some kind of product launches, for your customers, and so on and so forth. You see, everything you do with your ads has to be around the customer. What drives them to buy? What are the most known psychological triggers that turn a stranger into a loyal customer? And in fact, I talk about psychological triggers in one of my videos, things like social proof, urgency, scarcity, exclusivity, novelty. All those things are extremely important and they should be in your ads in some kind of shape or form. Now, don't use all those psychological triggers in one single ad, because that will look kind of weird. You use that based on where your customer is in the funnel. For example, if you are using urgency, make sure you use that in the retargeting. If you use storytelling, that is going to be better for prospecting. And I talk more about that in one of my videos. And if you are interested in learning more about psychological triggers, make sure to check that video right here. And I will talk to you in that video.